make it the most effective for you as a resource in the future. But if you wouldn't mind, just give that approval if that's something that you're on board with. And then that way we can go back and revisit this. As I said before, I definitely don't want to just have this moment, but I want to have future moments where we can have one-on-one sessions too. And being able to follow up with this will go a long way. There we go. Couple little housekeeping rules too as well. We're going to keep everything on mute. If there's something that you need to share or say in the process, feel free to use the chat. We've got an amazing team here today that's going to allow us to communicate most effectively. Because if you're like me, this thing called Zoom, it's a blessing and a curse. It's wonderful because it keeps us from having to put gas in the tank and drive places we don't want to go. But at the same time, too, sometimes it's a little restrictive in the sense that we all can't be unmuted at the same time. So just to make sure that we keep the flow going, feel free to drop any comments, questions you may have in the chat, and our team here will be able to communicate that to me and allow us the opportunity to keep the flow going, because I want to honor your time as well today. Hey, do me a favor. This is kind of high level. Don't worry if you don't know how to do it, but it's just kind of fun. And I believe that part of the classroom experience has to be fun. Do me a favor right now and find the reactions button, the emojis button, and share your emoji with me of how you feel about this coming year. Mickey, this coming year, my emotion, my emoji about that is such and such. Go ahead and drop those emojis in there. Let's take a look. I know last year I've had some experiences, even being an experienced teacher. There's been excitement, there's been joy, there's been some intrepidation, there's been a little fear, there's been a little shock and awe sometime too. I see it. I'm seeing some good emojis. I'm seeing some stuff. I'm seeing some folks that are like, okay, Mickey, I'm here, but I'm not quite sure what's going to be there. And that's okay. I think it's healthy that we're honest and know that this is a safe place. We're all about positivity. So in the next few minutes, as we go through these things today, we want to keep each other uplifted and encouraged. My big thing is this. I want to make sure I honor your time, and I want to make sure that I address the needs that you have in this moment. I can think of young Mr. Smith. When I first got the call, I first got the keys to the building, I was excited, but I was probably like many of you thinking, what the heck have I gotten myself into, right? And I'll never forget that first day the kids showed up, and I blazed through my script, because they taught me in school have the script, right? What you're going to do, what you're going to share with them. And I blazed through that bad boy in 15 minutes. And I'll never forget my man, Ryan Abshire, a little saxophone player. He looked up at me. He said, Mr. Smith, is that it? And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it, Ryan. That's all I got. And we kind of winged it for the next 45 minutes. And I found that throughout that year, there was a lot of winging it. Part of it was because I was visited by two twisted sisters that year, Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. You talk about trial by fire, trial by storm is no better either. And it put me in a situation where I began to understand the value of structure. Now, that took time. It took experience. And most importantly, it took relationship and me seeing it in real time. So today, I want to share with you some concepts that I think will be a benefit with you. I know that some of the biggest problems we face today are some timeless problems, but there are also some new problems we face. Do me a favor, one more time in the chat. Would you just share with us what's your biggest problem that you face? What do you think the biggest pain point, the biggest obstacle that you face personally in the classroom? Let's be honest. Let's share in this season, because I think when we see the transparency from one another, it kind of helps us all understand that we all in this boat together called teaching. I see some things. Okay, I see. Yeah. I truly believe, like, as I travel in doing this thing called teaching, I teach full time. I currently teach in West Palm Beach, Florida, at a school called the King's Academy. But when I'm not teaching, I play hooky sometimes. I play hooky and I travel the country encouraging educators in what I call my Keep On Going tour, which is a motivational mixture of music and message, of keynotes and concerts. But what I found is, regardless of where I go, I'm finding people are struggling right now. And particularly when faced with the attitudes of students. There seems to have been a shift in the attitude, the ability to engage students, the lack of focus, the perceived apathy that we have in students. I say perceived, but look, perception is real. Like really, it looks oftentimes like they just don't care like they used to or like we remember. There's also seems to be a divide in how to connect with students and their ability to learn concepts that at one time used to be simple, but now it's like, man, like what's happening? This wasn't an issue before. Why is it a thing now? And biggest thing, I'm gonna be honest, this is the one that hit me the most because I used to pride myself on this, an unwillingness to practice. Like back in the day, it was like, man, I could just say, let's go, and they went. But now it's like, okay, I'm seeing some changes in the students. And just being able to teach everything that's required to teach in the amount of time that we have, because it seems like we have more to do with less. And if those are some challenges that you face, give me a thumbs up. Anybody seeing that? Does that resonate with you? Okay, good. I just want to make sure we're in the room the right way. So today I'm going to share with you some applicable tools that you can use, but I'm going to make you a promise. And anybody knows me knows I don't really like making promises, because I don't like making a promise and then having to let somebody down. You know, and especially in a classroom, if Mr. Smith says something, it's almost like short of an act of God, it's going to happen. But today I am going to make you a promise. I'm going to make you a promise that today we're going to provide you the encouragement. I hope you feel encouraged already, knowing that you're in a place where you're going to win, you're going to get tools to win, and you're also in that safe space. And you're with somebody who didn't just fall out of the heavens and have it all together. You're looking at somebody who went through the failures. But I want to tell you today, you can make failures just as long as you don't make the fail yours. And the fact that you're in the Zoom room right now tells me that you want to make your next steps your best steps, and ultimately make your students' next sounds their best sounds yet. So we're going to give you that encouragement. I hope you feel that today. We're going to give you the equipment that you need. We're going to equip you to win with tools that you can use on any day to make any day a Wednesday, WINS. Every day your kids come into the class, they should leave with a winnable concept, something that makes them want to come back and do it again. Doesn't mean that you're going to have all the answers. Doesn't mean that everything's going to go perfect, but it is going to progress. And we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for that progress, that thing that allows us to keep on going. I call it the slope of mastery. We'll unpack that more. And then lastly, I want you to be empowered. I want to give you not just the resources, but I want to show you how to use them in a way that you don't have to put on a red jacket and a weird hat. You can be uniquely you and make it do what it do. And that's what we want to provide you today. So we're going to give you the encouragement, we're going to equip you, and we're going to empower you today to keep on going. So real quick, I need you, if you have pencil and paper, you know, I'm a big pencil and paper guy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a big pencil and paper guy because I believe that paper remembers what Mickey forgets. Paper remembers what you forget. It's so crazy. How many times have we waken up in the morning and you had this incredible thought, and by the time you got up to get your coffee, it had the thought had already fleeted. It went away and you couldn't go back and retrieve it. I believe that we have more answers than we realize in the course of the day. But oftentimes, because we don't capture them, we become captives of the day. So today, I want you to do more than just sit and get. I want you to script too. I want you to write it down, because again, this is not about you doing it exactly the way that I do it, but I'm sharing the principles that I use so that you can make them uniquely yours. But I need you to have that blueprint. I need you to take those things down. So understand this, write this down for me if you don't mind. Your reality is negotiable. Now, don't worry, we're going to give you some stuff today, but before we give you the stuff, I need you to understand something. Sometimes we say stuff like, that's just the reality. Well, that's just the reality of today's classroom. That's just the reality of teaching. That's the reality of kids. I won't deny that it's the reality, but I will say this, your reality is negotiable. What are you going to do? A wise man once told me, wise man by the name of Kyle Cook once told me that whatever I don't disavow is what I allow. And oftentimes, the things that are happening in our classroom, oh, it's all love today. I promise. I didn't come to preach or to teach it to you today, but I just came to help you remind yourself that you have a sound and that you are sound. So if it feels fussy today, it's all love. I'm not mad at you, but I am mad about you. I'm crazy about you guys. Crazy enough to tell you that some of the things that we're experiencing in our classroom, we have the capacity to change, but you need to use the proper tools to see that change come about. Nothing happens by happenstance, only by habit stacks. Small things done well, stacked on top of each other over time. The question is, are you going to use the tools? The problem is there. But today I'm going to give you solutions. Why? Because problems were meant to be recognized, but never committed to. Let's commit to the solution. Look, I need you today to understand that we're going to focus on those three areas that we talked about today: the encouragement, the equipping of you, the empowerment of you. But it starts with you. When you learn things without structure, you remain in what I call the valley of despair. There's way too many people out here that we teach off of emotion. I'll give you an example. My wife is also an educator. And believe it or not, for many years, I taught before she did. She came into the classroom and she was a little reluctant to ask about classroom management. I speak on classroom management because before we can get to the music side of it, there has to be some structure and some things in your classroom that allows the music to flourish. I think you're probably like me where you know the 12 notes. You know the scales, you know the pedagogy, but how many of you face challenges just getting the kids to sit down, to shut up, and to listen up? I'm just being real, I'm being raw today. Sometimes that's the biggest challenge. How do we get them to get it? It comes down to classroom management. And my wife and I were having this discussion one day. She was sharing that she was having some issues in the class, and over a series of many, many months, she finally said, Mickey, can you help me? Now, you got to understand, for my wife to say that, look, some of y'all know what we're talking about. You know, when it's the spouse, sometimes that's the hardest thing, right? And I understood the assignment. I handled it with care and with love. I said, are you asking me to? Because sometimes my wife didn't always want a solution. She just wanted an ear. I said, do you want an ear or do you want a hand? She said, I need a hand. I said, okay, well, this is what I feel like you should do. I've been listening to you, and I don't teach English, but how many of y'all know teaching is teaching at the end of the day? Classroom management and engagement is what it is, regardless of the subject matter. And I began to outline some of the things I'm going to share with you today and some other things that were unique to her situation. I'll never forget the next day in class, I get a text message. It's from my wife. The text message says, oh my God, it worked. Now what do I do? I laugh because, and she doesn't mind me sharing this story. The joke of it was she had spent so much time just trying to get them quiet. She didn't even know what to do beyond having their attention. Oh, there's somebody in the room today that's probably been in that situation. I'm going to show you how to capture their imagination and then give you tools that you can use to help them grow and go to the next level. So we got to have the structure. What is the structure? Write this down for me real quick. I need you to put this down because I'm going to use this term a lot. And I almost have my own unique language, so to speak. So when I ask you to write things down, it's because if you don't write it down, it may not make sense later. We don't use anything in our classroom that's not an app. Why? Because knowledge is not power. They lied to us. I got some funny looks. Don't give me that band director look. I saw that. Listen, when somebody said, Mickey, knowledge is power. Well, the truth of the matter is knowledge is a great thing, but it's not power. If knowledge was power, think about it. We got more knowledge on this phone probably in our pocket than they had in the entire building when they sent the first rocket to the moon, so to speak, right? We have more knowledge at our disposal on any given day, but the grades aren't necessarily going up on the kids' report cards. So knowledge is not power, but applied knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is power. So what is application? Application is the key. I don't want this session to be knowledge acquisition. I need this session, this time we have together, to be knowledge application. That's why I'm giving you tools that you can use, but I need you to do just that. I need you to trust and use the tools. When we talk about this thing called trust, that's the key component that fuels our classroom. And when we give kids apps that they can use, what happens is this: they don't necessarily get better fast. What happens is they begin to see development. And when they see the development, this thing called trust begins to flourish. And the trust may grow incremental, like watching grass grow or paint dry, but we always want to make sure that we are going up that slope of mastery with this thing called trust. Because if you can keep pouring in trust, if you can keep making those deposits of trust, now you're going to be able to make the withdrawal of their effort and their energy. But if you don't have trust, I'm going to be honest with you, you don't have anything. You show me a classroom that achieves, I'm gonna show you a classroom that believes. And I don't mean to knock anybody today, but I definitely want us to be honest with ourselves. Do me a favor. Look, it's all love. We family. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like, man, 10 being like they would run through a wall for you and not even ask a question. What's your trust level in your class? Be honest with you. Be honest with yourself. You're not here to impress anybody today. It is what it is. We're all here to grow and to learn and to get better. But if you had to be honest with yourself, what number? 10 being the most trust, 1 being like, they don't even believe that I'm who I am. What is the number? What is the number that you would give your classroom? Okay, I'm seeing some 8s, I'm seeing some 9s. Come on, let's keep those numbers going, okay? It's like I saw a 7 there. That's good. Thanks for being honest. 8, good. Okay, I see another 7. What's that number? This is good. This is good. Okay, good. I like that. Thank you for the honesty. He says it depends, 5 to 7. Look, I'm going to be real with y'all. That's really what I was looking for, because I'm a pretty good dude, but I can't say that every day it's a particular number. Sometimes it fluctuates. Sometimes there may be days I come in and watch this. Isn't it funny how you can help a kid get a win and then you lose all credibility the next day? My wife and I have 2 children. There's one child we've raised for 2 decades, but depending on what we tell her, you would think she was raised by wolves. I say, why wouldn't you trust us? She was like, well, I'm just not sure, Dad. I'm like, well, who's been taking care of you for 20 years? The trust fluctuates. I'm saying that for this reason. If my own biological child sometimes doesn't trust me, it's okay to give these kids grace. They're growing and they're learning to love us. But watch this. The good news is you have time on your side, because whereas most teachers only have them for a semester or a year, you get multiple years to develop that. Rome wasn't built in a day. So I'm saying this today because I'm going to give you a lot of content that may not be able to be applied in the first 10 minutes of class. But if you apply it consistently, you'll be able to win. And as you apply it, give the kids grace. Give the kids grace, because some of these things will be very different than you've done in the past. And they may be kind of in shock of, why are we doing it this way, Mr. Sanders? Dang, why are we doing it this way, Mr. Cook? Why are we doing it this way, Mr. Baker? What's happening? You have to give them that time to grow into what it is we're trying to do today. So apps, let me give you some apps today. So when we talk about classroom management, I've got a few different tools that we use, okay? And these tools, okay, it's not a hammer, I promise you. You don't want to use this in the classroom. That'll get you in trouble, right? Unless you're hanging a picture. But I need you to understand that you cannot build this incredible structure called the perfect classroom or the ideal classroom without tools that you can use that can benefit you. So when we talk about these tools, I need you to understand something. We serve the with me generation. In order to know what tools to use, you have to understand who you're working with, okay? What is the with me generation? It's the what's in it for me generation. And I hear people say all the time, these darn kids, these kids, they just, all they care about is what's in it for them. Man, I get excited. Matter of fact, I need you to stand down. If you're one of these people that's always talking about these kids, I need you to understand, you sound like the adult at the end of the Scooby-Doo movie. That's old school. Y'all don't know about that. Remember at the end of Scooby-Doo, they pull the mask off. It'd always be the old dude. He said, I would have gotten away from it if it weren't for you kids, right? Scooby-Doo, right? It would always be that. But I'm telling you today, guys, look. Use that as a tool. See, one of the most powerful things I use in my classroom every year is this. This has changed my life. Yeah. I would have laughed with you. It's a Post-it note. I hate Post-it notes. Matter of fact, before I started doing this, I kind of thumbed my nose down at Post-it notes. I said, man, that's for the weak, man. I don't use no Post-it notes. But then I remember, paper remembers what Mickey forgets. But watch this. This becomes a powerful tool. How many of y'all know the kids elect to take our class? They choose, right? And if you're like me, you probably have to fight the good fight of faith, where there's people on your campus that think, oh, your job's so easy because the kids picked it. But they don't understand. Just like they picked it, they can pick themselves right out of the class too. So our job is predicated upon recruitment and retention. I share that with you because in my experience, I've had great results with retention and recruitment. Matter of fact, at the school I was at, 2 schools I was at, one in Louisiana, one in Texas, we increased retention and recruitment by 500%, which ultimately resulted in both schools having 50% of the school population participating in band. Now, I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you that doesn't happen by chance. That there's something to that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that came as a result of this. Now, what do you mean by this? At the beginning of the school year, I do something crazy. I ask the kids what they want. Oh, okay, now, look. Who taught you that, Smith? Sam Walton. He made this little place called Walmart. Steve Jobs had this little thing called Apple. What are you talking about? Anybody who's in this thing called commerce or capitalism, they're trying to get money from somebody. They have to make an exchange, right? They have a product and we go into their store and we hold on to this currency called money that none of us want to give up freely. But because what they're offering is so attractive, because it resonates with me and because it looks like exactly what I need, I give up the thing that I'm cherished the most. Do you understand your kids have a currency? It's not money, even though some of them got that money. Don't let them fool you. They got that money, some of them. But the currency I'm talking about is time. Time, their time and their attention. And they don't want to give it up. That's why they don't want to practice at home. They don't want to give it up. That's why they don't want to stop talking in class, because that's their time. So how do I get them to give up their time? The same way these businesses get us to give up our currency, by offering us the thing that we imagine that we need the most. So what I do is, on a Post-it note, I ask the kids to write down, and this works from 8 to 18. Every day I teach 4th grade through 12th grade. And I do this exercise with all grade levels at the beginning of the school year. On a Post-it note, I ask them to write down what it is they want the most out of this class. So why do I do that? As you take that note down, because that's a powerful one. It sounds simple, but watch, I told you, I'm not going to add anything to your plate necessarily. I'm just giving you a new way of seeing the plate because you got enough on it already. So the tools I'm going to give you are going to be deceptively simple, but they're incredibly significant. They're going to be so powerful that I promise you, if you enact them, you're going to see immediate change in your classroom. Why do I do it this way? I do it this way because, number one, we had Arturo Sandoval here at our school a few years ago. And Arturo's here and he's talking and I'm hanging on to every word. And he said something so powerful. He said, "I'm not a trumpet player." Now, anybody knows Arturo Sandoval is the trumpet player. I mean, who's more trumpet than Arturo Sandoval, right? So he had my attention when he said, "I'm not a trumpet player." He said, "I'm a trumpet learner." I said, dang. I said, well, I'm not a saxophone player anymore. I know that. That changed the way I saw everything. If Arturo ain't a player, I ain't a player either. I'm a learner. Like the old song say, don't want to be a player no more. I want to be a learner. So watch this. I'm a student learner. I'm a behavior detective. So what I do is I don't start the year off assuming that I just have all the answers. I give them the space. I give them the agency, so to speak, to share with me what it is that they want, what's in it for them. Now, watch this. Like a good business person, I turn it around on them. Once they give me the clues of what they want, I use it against them. I then create a curriculum that at some point fits this in to what I'm doing, or I change what I'm doing to fit what it is they want. And when we do achieve these things, and what I do is I literally sit down and ask myself, okay, they want to play Mission Impossible. Okay, what do they? Okay, so clarinets. Okay, I'm gonna have to teach this for clarinets. Oh wow, they want to play polka dot Afro Circus. Oh, okay, we're gonna have to work on the chromatic scale. You see what I did? Oh, they want to play Joy to the World. Okay, we definitely got to work on descending scales. Now, when I go back and I teach these things, now I'm connecting it to a powerful why. I'm using what they desired to help us reach the destination. Because if you tell a kid we're going to learn a scale today, they're not excited. But if you tell them around Christmas, we're going to learn Joy to the World. If you tell them, hey, a scale is not a scale is a language. For example, if I was in America and I said, hello, my name is Mr. Smith. We're about to get on a plane and go to France. But before we got on the plane, I uploaded a computer chip, which is illegal. But hey, it's 2024. We can do that. So we uploaded the chip. And now you have the entire breadth and depth of the French language at your disposal. We land in Paris. We get off the plane. We meet somebody. All of a sudden, bonjour, je m'appelle Monsieur Smith. Oh, wow. Now I'm having a great time in Paris. I'm laughing at all the little French movies, right? I'm ordering straight off the menu. I don't even need the waiter, right? I got it made. But then I get bored with France. We hop on a train. We go to Spain. Do the upload. Hola, ¿cómo te llamas? Me llamo Señor Smith. Don't judge me. Se habla español muy poco, right? But then I go to Germany. Guten Tag. I get tired of Europe. I hop on the plane. I go to Japan. Konnichiwa. Come on, put it in the chat. What did I say every time? What did I say every time? What did I say? Did anybody hear it? Did you catch it? See, another powerful way of sharing concepts is how you unpack the concepts to a kid. Are you giving them relevancy to it? Now, yeah, I said hello each time. Now watch this. Watch this. I explain to the kids that music is also a language. Before I share that with them, I do share with them the fact that I'm not bilingual. I'm not trilingual. I'm tritruskalingual. I speak 13 languages. I speak English. I don't speak Japanese, but I do speak B-flatnese. I do speak A-flatnese. I do speak E-flatnese. I do understand that I said hello in many different languages, and I can say joy to the world in many different languages. Get the idea, right? So now we have rebranded scales as language. Now the challenge is, hey, we're going to have a B-flatnese day. And I brand the whole class. We only speak in B-flatnese. And then we do a celebration when we become bilingual. Now I speak B-flatnese and E-flatnese. And, you know, maybe I take them to F-nese, right? And all of a sudden now, scales aren't a challenge. They're an opportunity to explore songs. Now, when I open up the method book, I see scales. Do you see scales? Matter of fact, how many of our kids really understand that music only moves two ways, by steps or skips, by scales or arpeggios? Or do they still see the scales and arpeggios separate from the reading of the music? When we can bridge that gap and help them get relevance to the rigor that we're trying to introduce to them, then the relationship that they see between those concepts helps our relationship from teacher to student. Now they understand he's not trying to hurt me, he's trying to help me. She's not trying to diminish me, she's trying to develop me. And wow, look at this cool way. I never saw music that way before, Mr. Smith. I can't tell you how many times a kid has told me, wow, I never thought of it like that. That's what we want to get. But if they're not thinking, then we're not winning. But the problem is if they have to think too much, then they won't. So our job is we have to distill it down. We're going to talk about what that looks like. I call it bite-sized teaching and bite-sized learning. So watch this. Before we get into the teaching of it, I need you to understand the management of it. We know we're teaching the what's in it for me generation. But the question is, how do you get them to buy in? I believe the first 10 minutes of class are the most sacred minutes of the class. That if you can win in the first few minutes of class, you've got everything. There's a not an emoji, but there's a meme, old school, of a horse, like a real horse, tied to a plastic lawn chair, and the horse doesn't move. I looked at that, I said, that's crazy. But is it crazy? How many of us have seen back in the day, and they may not do it now because I don't know if that's politically correct or Peter correct, but back in the day, I'm a kid, I'm an old school kid. Like we went to the circus. And when you went to the circus, you saw the elephant, and the elephant had a rope on its leg, a rope. And I used to think as a kid, how in the world does this elephant not know it's an elephant? Like it could break that rope. Like what's going on? And I understood that just like a tree can be bent when it's little. Back at home in Louisiana, we had this beautiful avenue of oak trees in the little town I taught in, right on Highway 90. And all of all of the trees bent this way. The oak trees just made a beautiful arc that you went under. And I thought that was so amazing. I said, how did they do that? They bent the tree when it was just a little sapling, and it began to grow in that direction. Same thing with the elephant. When they were little, they probably put like a shackle on it, and it tugged and it pulled. And in its mind, it came to the conclusion that it's not the shackle, whatever's on my leg, I won't be able to break it. To the point when it became an adult, they just put the little string or the rope on it, and the elephant decided that's the boundary that I'm accepting. Now, that may sound harsh, but I wanted to use those visuals to kind of help you get a mental picture of it. The good news is boundaries, as I'm speaking about them in a classroom, actually create freedom. If you have no boundaries, you won't have the space to teach. But with boundaries actually comes freedom. Don't let anybody fool you. The enemy of discipline is not enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is not the enemy of discipline. You have to have both in order for it to be long-term success. So when I use the word discipline, it doesn't mean to admonish or to hurt or to harm or to put down. It's just a framework that we can operate from. I tell my students, discipline is doing things with excellence, doing it with structure. Otherwise, you lay and stay in the valley of despair without that structure. So in the first 10 minutes, there's a particular structure we have. I need you to write this down if you hadn't already. Write this for me. My class is a show. Oh, man. I tell you, anytime I say that, people get offended. I hope you didn't get offended by that. But if you did, it's all love. My class is a show. Mickey, I'm not an entertainer. I didn't say you're an entertainer, but I know this. Engagement is a level of entertainment. Because, hey, if it's good enough for the TV, if it's good enough for the online streaming platform, they understand that if they don't engage you, if they don't entertain you, you're going to change the channel. And the apathy that we feel and the lack of focus and enthusiasm, oftentimes is mentally they have turned the channel. So what can we do to engage them or entertain them? I believe it's creating a show that they can come to depend on. My favorite show, when it comes on, it has a theme song. Yours does too. Maybe your show is Friends. And you already know, I know people, they get the claps ready, like right out the gate, right? Why? Because there's a spirit of expectation. There's expectation to what's about to happen. People like predictability and patterns. If you make things too unpredictable, then it raises the anxiety and the stress level. Mickey, that's not true. Oh, it's not? Well, they had this thing called COVID a few years ago. It was very what? Unprecedented. There was no pattern like it before that we knew of in our lifetime. And because things were no longer the same, people begin to be no longer the same. I need you to exercise the term I like to use, creative redundancy. Your ability to win in a classroom is your ability to create redundancy that doesn't feel redundant. Because I don't know if you know this or not, the biggest part of beginning band is saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And not just saying it over and over again, but successful beginning band is saying it over and over and over and over and over and over again. What are you talking about, Mickey? Having an increased level of enthusiasm about it each time, because the enthusiasm is what's contagious. Now, you don't want to be inauthentic, but I'm telling you right now, if you act enthusiastic, you'll be enthusiastic. And if you'll be enthusiastic, they'll receive that enthusiasm. It's contagious. But we have to know what it is we want in that classroom. And we have to know how we are going to share it. And that comes with having the structure of actually what our classroom is. All right, as I unpack this part of classroom management, tell me right now, put in the chat, does any of this resonate with you? The importance. I really took some time to explain the mindset and the perspective that both the child has in the classroom and that we have to have as that sound adult. You can't just lead with instruction, guys. Look, we loved music. That's why we went into it. But do you know many of the kids only joined band for a social element? Many of the kids only joined band because it was an elective or their parents chose it. Out of all the kids that you teach, how many of them will become you? You're phenomenal. How many of your beginning band classmates went on to be band directors? How many of them went on to be professional musicians? It's like we forget that sometimes. I ain't mad at you, Dave, but it's like this Dr. Philmo. We got to remember who we're teaching. We're not in the job of making mini us's. If your focus right now is to make everybody in your classroom an all-state player, then hey, go for it. Have high expectations, but leave room for reality and negotiate from there. Okay? Because every child will not be first chair all-state. There's not even enough chairs for that, right? So we have to make sure that we're creating not just a lesson, but an experience that will last for a lifetime. If you're with me, I want you to put in the chat, KOG, keep on going. I ain't gonna move till you say it. KOG, keep on going. Okay, so you with, all right. If you ain't with me, you can say stop. It's all good. But at this point, you've passed the point of no return if I keep going, because now we're all of the same heart and mind. We understand the assignment. Now let's talk about the tools that we can use to help make this happen. Classroom management, win by 10. That's the concept. Write that down for me. Win by 10. In the first 10 minutes of class, what are you doing to win? I was about 1 year ago old when I understood that the word culture is actually your cult spelled backwards. Culture is actually your cult. Now, when I say this, I offend people. I'm sorry if you offend easy, you're in the wrong place. Yeah, I said it. We low-key a cult. Okay, think about it. A band is low-key a cult. We don't talk like anybody else. We don't dress like anybody else. Okay, we don't even do things like the rest. Matter of fact, people are sometimes scared to come into the inner sanctum called the band hall, right? It's a cult. And watch this. That means you're a cult leader. All right. I hope you're a good one. No juice. Sorry, that was inappropriate. But you know what I mean. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. All right. New school don't know about that. All right. Like, the juice is cool. All right. But watch this. Watch this. If we understand that, then we also understand that low key, there are times we may even come off like a dictator. And band directing is actually the last great bastion of dictatorship. But I need you to be a benevolent dictator. I am. I try every day. I'm the dictator that they deserve and hopefully love, right? Because I love them. And every day I have to make sure that I have my plan of action. I like to call it my management action plan, my map in place. So these apps are actually maps or routes, however you want to say it, to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Okay? When we think of it that way, I need you right now, you don't have time to unpack this, but I need you to make yourself a note and ask yourself, where do you want to be? I want you to write, where do I want to be? And then write the equal sign Z. I should have had a graphic for that. I apologize. Y'all getting the real deal. Where do I want to be equals Z? Think about the alphabet. A to what? Z. So how foolish would it be to think that you could be a literate, functional person in society, but you only learn the first 4 or 5 letters of the alphabet? You would need the totality of it. And the same thing, if we take kids to a place we haven't told them we're taking them, that's called a felony. That's kidnapping. Okay? So we wonder why kids are resistant with stuff. It's because we haven't really unpacked with them where things are going. And what I like to do in the first days of school, I like to paint a picture of what this class is going to look like. The same way our schools do it every day. They do a fire drill. They don't wait till the disaster happens. They paint the picture of what is possible, and then they drill it to the point where when it happens, we don't have to think about it because it becomes the way. Everything that I'm about to unpack with you on this thing called Win by 10 is affectionately what I call the band way. When I had my 4th graders show up to school, the first day I said, hey, I met them outside the door, which we'll talk about that. I don't let them come in. We get control on the outside. I said, hey, we're going to do things in this class. We're going to do things the right way. And they were like, yeah, first day of school, every teacher says that. I said, we're going to do things the right way. And I said, watch this. And I said, you know what? Bump that. And he's like, what's going on? I said, I need you to hear me. We're going to rethink that. In this class, we don't do things the wrong way. And like, okay, he just said that. I said, and we don't do things the right way. One kid say, well, what do we do? I said, I'm glad you asked. We do it the band way, because the band way is better. See, I logged on at 9:59. Why? Because band way taught me to be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. To be late is to be fatal, or at least it used to be last millennium. All right. So I'm telling you, watch this. Watch this. What is your band way? What is it that you ideally expect your classroom to be? Whatever you don't disavow is what you allow. It's not just going to happen. So whenever I see a construction, I always see a picture of the building that they're getting ready to build. The building is already built before they build the building. My question to you is, where can we go to see your classroom that hasn't happened yet? Oh, I never thought of it like that. I know most people don't. They wait for the school year to happen to start building. But there's no way you would pay a contractor to build your house if they couldn't show you a blueprint, if they couldn't show you a 3D rendering of it, of what it's going to look like. We can't expect today's generation of kids to just trust us blindly. Where are we taking them? They will be resistant if they feel like we're curricularly kidnapping them. So in our classroom, Win by 10 looks like this. I have a distinct designated way that we meet. How do your kids first engage you? Do you meet them at the door? Are you at the podium? I know every day brings its own challenges. You may not be able to be 100% consistent with it, but what is the expectation? Because here's the deal. If you don't lay expectation, they're going to draw conclusions. And the conclusions they draw are not going to be the ones you want to see, okay? So what I do is I meet my kids at the door. Matter of fact, I like to have a little dry erase board that's at the door where they can see what the agenda is or the objectives for that day, or just maybe some basic announcements. Get your mind right, right? Okay, or as the great philosopher Ice Cube said, check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? That's what my little board does. Make sure that we all the same heart and mind, right? Right? And I'll meet them outside. I'll also remind them, hey, look at the board. Okay, I've been in situations where I didn't have a board. I became the board. I was the sounding board. And I shared with them at that door what we're going to do. But watch this. I also use that opportunity to develop relationship. In those first few minutes, I may give them some time to kind of debrief, detox, decompress, because maybe I'm the fourth class they came to that day, and maybe everybody's been mean to them that day. So I say, hey, you got 2 minutes. Talk amongst your friends. Why do I do that? Because I also recognize as an elective or enrichment teacher that now the pan has been stirred, meaning some of these kids are seeing their best friend for the first time that day because they weren't in the same classes. So I got to give them a little bit of opportunity to catch up on the latest little gossip in under 2 minutes, so that then I can then say, hey, now we're about doing it the band way. See, you can't ask for what you haven't given. My children once were in a position where I had to punish them. My wife reminded me, she said, okay, you took away the toys, but what are you going to put in place of it? I was like, why I got to put anything in place? Nobody put anything in place for me. She said, yeah. But that ain't the way. She said, if you take away the toys, you have to fill in that time with something, even if it's an activity of punitive activity. Maybe I don't know, cutting the grass. Now, granted, at the time, the child was like 4. I wouldn't make him cut the grass, but some type of thing you put in place of it. Well, this is the thing. We're asking them to give up their time. What are you going to give them before you take it? I like to give them 2 minutes. We call it the power moment. And they just talk it out and they do all this stuff right there. And then I have a signal that we use to get their attention. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it's something that you say. I like to say, hey, band. They say, sir, back, right? So whatever it may be. Some people say, hey, band. Some people say, hey. They do the hey twice. Whatever it is, have those things in place to get their attention. And then I have them come into class. Now, once they come into class, you never give a child direction without assignment. I need you to write that down. Never give a child direction without an assignment. Aren't those the two same things? Nope. See, you can't send a kid in a direction without giving them a proper assignment. If you do what I just said and then just let the kids come into the room without any sense of direction, I'm going to tell you right now, something's going to catch on fire. Something's going to get broken. So everything has not only direction, but it has a timestamp. I'm very, very specific. All right, guys, I just let them talk. Hey, band, sir, fantastic. It's time to do things the band way. When we come in, you have 22 seconds. I need you at your cubbies, grab your instrument, and then you come back to your seat, put the cases underneath the chair. See, a lot of times kids, they just want to be told what to do. They're never going to tell you that. But kids are naturally people pleasers. They just want to be told what to do. And oftentimes when they resist, okay, and when they're obstructive and destructive, it's because they've been given too much freedom. Boundaries actually create liberty. So what I do is I give them the specifics. So when they go in there, they know, okay, I got 22 seconds and watch this. Now they start policing themselves because you know what happens. Hey, you're moving too slow. You know, Mr. Smith said we have 22 seconds. I already got my horn. Come on, y'all already know what I'm talking about. That's the kids. They want to have that sense of what? Achievement and fulfillment. Are you understanding how now you put them in position to get a win? To make it a Wednesday. The win doesn't have to be, you know, this incredible song they played that day. Sometimes it can just be job well done on the small things. Because most kids, by the time they get to you, have not been told, I'm proud of you. Great job today. Most of them go the whole day without being told that at all. So if they can come in and off a small task, be recognized with celebration and praise, boom, now you got them. And every act that I have in class is a meaningful directional act that is accompanied by a set of instructions that allow the kids an opportunity for achievement. I boss them so they can make boss moves so that ultimately they can be a boss. Isn't that a nice way of saying follow directions? Isn't that an empowering way? If I'm a kid, I'm like, oh, I'm making boss moves. No, you ain't. You just did what I told you to do, but it's all good. That's what you want to feel, right? It's a win-win. Everybody gets what they want. The kid is made to feel like that they're running the show, but at the same time, they didn't wreck the show, which makes the show fantastic. So what does your show look like? From the moment it starts, every great show I know has an opening theme song. It has the little spot that they always meet at that they probably start the show off with each time, and certain things that you just come to expect, patterns that make that show something that you know and love. What is it about your classroom outside of the goosebumps? I'm talking about the structure and the procedure of it, the guidelines, the procedures, and the systems. What is it about your class that kids would know to do without you being there? Or is it done so happenstancely that they couldn't, what to say, my man say, snap your finger famous. That thing we do, you know the thing we do. If that's the way that they recall our class, then we have not done the due diligence necessary to make it everything that it can be. I'm not here to admonish today. I'm just giving you something to think about. When I leave, because I do get opportunities to travel the country and do professional development for school districts, not just band directors, but for school districts. I like to show them the value we have. Too many times I sat in a PD session listening to some English teacher talk to me about differentiated instruction, right? So I like to go in and show them, hey, we got value too when it comes to classroom management and dissemination of information and relationship building and SEL and all that kind of stuff. We do it too. But I'm only able to do that and travel all over the world because when I leave my classroom, the kids actually run class. Oh, I guess y'all just have an easy time finding subs. I wasn't that way. I had to figure out something. So these tools are tools that we can use. So I want to share with you some of the tools that I use to create this environment, this culture, this your cult that we're outlining today. So let's see if I can find it. One of the first things I do, let's see. Boom. Let's see. Oh, good. Hey, somebody tell me in the chat. I'm not the best at this. Can you see the board? Okay, I got some folks tell me they can see it. Thank you, Julia. Thank you. So I show them how we are supposed to act by using the R, A-R-E. Somebody put that in the chat for me, or the A-R-E, the A-R-E, the A-R-E. So what is the A-R-E? Okay, let me see if I can turn it this way. This helps. I think that's it. That may be as big as we can, but the cool news is, well, we'll definitely share this when we have our one-on-one sessions as well too, and we'll make this available for you in a powerful presentation that we're going to share with each of you individually. So this is something I call the agenda. This is what I either have at the front door, in the classroom, next to the podium, in a very visible place, or sometimes both. Oh, because I don't know about you, but sometimes my kids, they need a little help. So I might put it both. And what I do at the start of the day, I just kind of write down the overall objectives that I have for each class, or my morning classes, and I'll erase it and put my afternoon classes, because I don't want to be too jumbled either. So you can see in this particular instance, 5th grade, we did a theory review, which I had already kind of unpacked, so the kids kind of knew what theory review meant, okay? We did horn review. They understood what that meant because this was more beginning of the year type stuff. They did level 1, which I'm going to unpack with you guys, and they did a first note review, okay? Our first note review, or first notes, probably did our first 2 notes that day. Then in 6th grade, we did our first 5-note review. We're going to talk about the sequence and the structure and the staggering of instruction, how it's important that you don't waterboard or overfeed or drown your students in concept. You can see on the 6th grade, I have a system I call pot die. We'll talk about that in another session. That's a session all to itself. And then ironically, you can see right there, I also cover level 1 because I have multiple beginner bands. I have a 5th grade beginner band. I have a 6th grade beginner band. And then 7th grade, you can see all those different things that we covered that day, such as rhythm charts, pages out of the method book, okay? And it's, seven nation army, right? You got to have the good stuff, right? So this was something we did at the beginning of the year. The agenda shows them who they need to be as far as being prepared. ARE also stands for routines, daily routines. These are those directions that I told you about. Take a look at it. Number 1 says personal belongings on the shelves. So if you walk into my band hall, you'll find that there's a little cubby for personal items that you can keep those items on the shelf, purses, water bottles, snacks, jackets, things they don't want to bring into the classroom. They put it there. That way, those things don't become disruptive or distractions. Number 2, bring your horn cases to the chairs. We put the horn cases underneath the chair to start the day. That allows us to continue this win by 10 process that we're talking about. I tell them to have their pencil and their music, read the band agenda board, which I just covered with you, right? A reminder, we have to remind kids, remember that creative redundancy. Then I give them 5 minutes to warm up on their own. I only do that with 6th through 8th grade initially. Elementary, we do not let them warm up on their own. The cases stay under their chairs and the horns stay in the cases, and we assemble together. And then number 6, remember, this is the big one, remember to take your belongings with you when you leave at the end of the day. It seems so silly that I would have to say that all the time, but I promise you I have to say that all the time. And then finally, the code of cooperation. This is our expectations. Code of cooperation. These are the rules that we use to elevate the culture of the classroom. These 7 things become the band way. These 7 things have actually been recognized by one of my mentors, the late, great Harry Wong. Dr. Wong actually recognized these procedures that I'm using with you today. And he also featured me in his latest book. And you'll see if you open up the cover, on the front cover, there's a weird guy with a red jacket on, and you can see it in there. So all these things are small, winnable acts, and you can screenshot this if it helps. I'm going to take this down in just a second. I'm going to be honest, the consequences, we talk about them, but I'm going to be honest with you, with the way I structure it and the consistency in which I do it, I'm going to be honest, I really have not had to exercise any significant consequences since I've started this. So code of cooperation, it's a couple of things about it. It works like this. I start class by having them recite it. I say, first one is, and they shout back, follow directions. They then say, raise your hand to speak, stay in your seat, be prepared, respect property of others, treat others with respect, and last one, gum, candy, food, or drinks are not allowed. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I typically like 3 to 5 rules, but the truth of the matter is these aren't actually rules. I don't have any rules in my class. I have a GPS for success. Now, what's a GPS for success? GPS is guidelines, procedures, and systems. Every single thing that I just said was either a guideline, a procedure, or a system. I really didn't have any rules. Follow directions. It's a guideline. Raise your hand to speak. That's a procedure, right? And if you go down the list, there's just a procedure that we use in this class to make things work. Watch this, the band way. which in itself is the entire system. The band way is the system. And anything that you do or how you do it falls under that umbrella that we call the band way. So what is your band way and what does it consist of? I would highly encourage you to consider implementing the ARE, the R, the agenda, the routines, and the expectations. The agenda works great because now when your administrators come in to observe you, they don't have to guess about what you're doing. They can see. So easy, even a caveman can do it, or an administrator, right? Because the first thing the administrators say is, well, I don't know, I can't play anything but the radio. I don't know anything about music. But you don't have to know anything about music. You just have to know that I am a substantially awesome teacher. And many times when we don't have these things in place, administrators even think that we're relying on talent or gift. And they don't see what we're doing oftentimes from the professional nature of it. And I'm telling you, and I know as well as you do, that what we do is beyond music. Matter of fact, we can't even do this thing called music unless we work out these things that have no thing to do with music. That's the only way the music works. So I want you to consider formulating, what will my agenda look like? How am I going to position this to where my kids can walk into class and without, are we playing today? Do we need our instruments? Man, no, they know not to ask me that in this class. Matter of fact, there's no need to even ask me anything because the agenda says everything. So that opens us up now to have something called relationship. So instead of me talking about what we're doing that day, now I can say, hey, how's your day been going? How was your weekend? And now I seem like a trusted, loving adult, which I am, but now they get to see me from a different light because I've automated these things to such an extent that now I can be personable. In order to elevate your teaching, I need you to automate and delegate. And that's what the ARE does. It provides that agenda, the routines, creative redundancy. You're going to have to say them every day until it becomes indoctrinated. You have to indoctrinate littles because you're stuck with them. Whatever you don't develop and decide, they will develop and decide on their own. And then you're stuck with that in my case, I'm stuck with it for a decade, y'all. I start with them in 4th grade and they go all the way to 12th grade. That's 8 to 18. What I'm telling you came out of a necessity for me to establish what the norms were so that I could be pleased, happy with our relationship for years to come. Try to be their friend today and you won't have anything to be friendly about later. But if you take time now to develop them, your relationship can grow, foster, and develop into something that's so beautiful because they understand what Mr. Smith expects. And most importantly, you've given them something to expect from themselves. That's really what routines are. And if you can break that down to them, and if you can unpack that in a small way to them each and every day, that what you're doing for them is not to hurt them, it's not to rub them in the wrong way, it's not to irritate them, but it's to polish them up so they shine, then kids appreciate that. Everything you do, it cannot be done through the lens of rigor and rules. It has to be done through the lens of love. And that's a powerful tool because the world is so unloving now that if you just operate with a little bit of love, that thing's going to be incredibly attractive to them. It's going to be something that they're like, I want to get with this. This is good because I feel loved when I come in here. Okay. So we got the ARE. Real quick. Any questions about the ARE? If anybody wants to, let's see. What did I do? I'm always afraid I'm gonna press end. I don't want to end the meeting. Okay, good. Any questions? Because now what I want to do, we talked about classroom management. I want to talk about the curriculum management. How do we take what it is we're trying to teach and put it in a way where the kids can get? So real quick, I'm not forcing it. I just want to make sure I give space. Any questions about the ARE? Going once, going twice, sold. 1,000. Here we go. Fantastic. All right, so watch this. We have this thing called in my class, the I am. Okay? And the I am is the instructional academic matrix. I came up with this because I was losing all my kids. I wasn't losing them. Like they were sticking through 6th through 8th grade band. But when they went to high school, the demands of that program were so rigorous. They were so strenuous. They were so, I'm going to be honest with you. just high level. You know, the kids would say it's insane. It was so intense that there was only at the time, I think, 80 wins in the band in high school. And the high school itself had a population of, I think, right at the time, maybe 1,800 students. Okay. And there were 3 middle schools feeding into it. So I say all that to say there should have been more than 80 kids. Okay. It was 80 wins and percussion, just to kind of give you perspective, total, 9th through 12th grade. So I'm like, man, my kids are quitting and they're good kids. It's like kids that, you know, they may not lit the world on fire. They may not have been all state, but they had a place like that, you know, and you hated to see them lose hope. But it's so important too that we understand that time to understand the plight of others and where they're coming from. It would have been so easy for me to say, wow, well, that band director is just mean. Now, granted, my students said that. It would have been so easy for me to say, well, you know, he just doesn't want kids to win. But I always talk a lot in my sessions about having a sound, you know, having that thing that's uniquely you that resonates with the kids, not an audible sound, but that thing that when they think about you, they feel. But I want you to consider this. What is it like to be on the other side of your sound? What is it like to be on the other side of you? Before I unpack how I came about with the I am, I want to back up to that code of cooperation. Can I be honest with y'all? I wasn't planning on sharing this, but if I can be totally honest with you, the code of cooperation, the rules, the guidelines, procedures, and systems, they're not really for the kids. They're for me because I'm a flawed individual. I care deeply about music. I care deeply about the students I teach. And sometimes when you care deeply about something, you can be highly emotional about it. So how many of y'all have probably said something to a student out of love and care, and when you went back, you're like, wow, man, kid's 10. Like I probably was tripping a little bit. You know, like, man, I'm trying to share with them, you know, a 40-year-old, a 30-year-old, I'm trying to share with them a 34-year-old concept, you know, and they're 12, you know. That's too much. That wasn't right. I know. That's too much. So I had to understand, okay, these rules are really for me. Meaning, I'm not going to write a kid up. I'm not going to go ballistic on a kid for anything they do outside of those things. So when a kid does something, you know, egregious, like, okay, so watch this. I had a kid. We're getting ready for not competition, but a concert. It's high level. Y'all know how it gets right beforehand. And we're in this really focused moment. I'm like, hey, we got to stay focused. And I'm going down the road. Now, these are beginners, you know, because I'm intense, right? These beginners. We got to be focused beginners, right? And we're doing this stuff. And I look over to the trombones because they're a little out of tune. And I look over and I'm like, I need you set. And the kids get set. And one of the trombone players has this little plastic mustache that ties onto his lead pipe. So you know, but I'm gonna be honest, it's funny now, but have y'all ever been in you're up against the clock, your timetable, and stuff that's funny ain't funny? Like I started to go off on my man for the mustache. And then I asked myself, follow directions. Yeah, he's following him. He got set. Raise your hand to speak. Okay, he wasn't talking. Stay in your seat. He's in his chair. Be prepared. It's actually prepared. Respect property of others, okay? Treat others with respect. You know, I don't even think he remembered he had the mustache on the trombone. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful. Gum, candy, food, or drinks are not allowed. In that moment, I was able to do like a quick mental check, and I realized technically there's nothing he did wrong. We've all done it at some point. You send a kid to the office and they make you go to the office and read the thing that you wrote, and you're like, man, why are we in here? This sounds stupid when I read it back. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the office and say, he needs to be suspended because he had a mustache on his trombone. Yeah, there's not a parent in the world that's going to back that up. So when I say the code of cooperation, sometimes it's our best ally because it puts us in a position to be consistent and to thusly be trusted because now they know they don't even understand Mr. Smith is as emotional as he is. They see me as a consistent, steady, and reliable source of adulting. And I'm like, these poor children don't even understand. Sometimes they within an inch of their life, right? But God bless the code of cooperation. It keeps us all one big happy family. So I'm unpacking that with you because it's so important that you understand it's not just for the kids, it's for us too. It's for our mental management, right? But when we talk about this thing called the I am, I'm going to show you what the I am looks like. Let's see if I can share it real quick. This gentleman that I'm talking about, it would have been so easy for me to villainize him. But just like that code of cooperation helps me stay mindful of what it's like to be on the other side of my sound. I gave him the grace and I thought to myself, okay, what if he's not just being a meanie? Maybe there's something he wants out of his students. So I went to him and we had a sit down conversation. I said, okay, do me a favor, incoming 9th grade student, what do they need to know? And he gave me a litany of stuff. Like, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm like, well, dang, I want that too. I'm like, you basically want the kid to know everything, right? I thought to myself, right? But looking back on it now, there was a lot of value and validity in what he wanted. I was a young teacher. I didn't understand it at the time. So, but I made that list of all the things he wanted, kind of like the Post-it note. I wrote down all those things. And then I went back and I reverse engineered it. And I asked myself, okay, if we're going to do this, what do they need to know by 8th grade going into 9th grade? What do they need to know in 7th grade going into 8th grade? What do they need to know by the end of 6th grade going into 7th grade? And then I broke it down even farther. And I said, okay, if I start in 6th grade, what are the things I need to do to get from point A to point Z? Okay. Okay, I need to do this in August. Okay, what are the non-negotiables for September? And I did this for the whole year. And then reality hit me. The spring don't exist. Took me about 3 years to figure it out. Spring don't exist. I hate to break that to you. Because we have testing, we got MPAs, they're going to pull them out for this and that. They got field trips. And it became so painfully obvious. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I continued to try to teach in the spring. And it became obvious one day where it was like, nah, we just need to go intense and ballistic in the fall. And then review and refine and revisit in the spring. Pour the concrete, then let it dry, shape it, whatever you need to do in the spring. So in the fall, from August to December, it's pretty intense. Every month, I find out what the 4 essential things are for each month, and we break those concepts down. Now I have a focus that, coupled with the agenda and the routines and the expectation, not only shows them who they are, but it shows me as a student who I am, thusly the I am, instructional academic matrix. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and then I'll also show it to you in real time so you can see. Now, again, I know it's kind of small. We'll send this to you so you can see, but all this is paper that I printed on a simple printer. I increased the font for the months to something ridiculous like 300 and something font, Roman times Roman or whatever it was, and I bolded it. And I put August, September, October, November, December. Then at the top, I put the grade levels that I teach, okay? For most of you, it's probably 6th through 8th grade. But in my case, I start in 4th grade and I go through 8th grade. So with each month, there are 4 things that we cover. That focus can be maybe one of those things we do once a week, you know, maybe one thing for an entire week, another thing for the second week. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's not always that. Sometimes it's just, these are the 4 things that we are going to do and we're going to interactively do throughout that month. Now, when the kids come in, they can see exactly what it is. Now they can see exactly what it is and how it fits into what we're doing that day. Now, here's the part I get excited about. Watch this. We're going to take a field trip. The cool thing is, and I left this up so y'all could see, this is actually in my band hall. So when the kids come in, just to kind of put in perspective, they meet outside. And as you can see, there's my agenda board. All right. So there's the agenda. We meet out here. We powwow for a second, have a little power moment. We talk. I invite them to come in. We say we're going to do things the band way, and we all say it collectively together, because if you act enthusiastic, you'll be enthusiastic. And I give them terms and little things that they can say to build and foster team building, camaraderie. These are the shelves that we have right here. They place their personal belongings on the shelf. We have some little videos. I made some videos, some shorts that kids can see themselves being successful in our class and past concerts and stuff like that. So we have that running. Then when they come in, you'll see it right there. There's the code of cooperation. Follow directions, raise your hand, speak, stand your seat, be prepared, respect property of others, choose respect, gum, candy, food, or drinks are not allowed. Here's our daily routines. We say them every day. We take them through it. The agenda, I have another agenda that would sit right here, okay, or stand right here where they could see what they're doing that day. And then they also have the I am. Now, here's the cool part. You're going to think, some of y'all are going to think this is cool. Some of you think it's crazy, but I'm telling you, it works so well. Every time the class collectively does something, we put a star next to it. I cannot tell you that simple addition makes them so enthusiastic as a class when they can see I call it all stars. We got all stars. And when we get all stars, that means you're an all-star. All of a sudden the kids like, we're all stars. And look, not the 4th grade. I'm talking 6th and 7th and 8th grade get excited about these stars. To the point I took them down. I should have left it up. I have star charts that I started putting up that the kids come and play off materials. They got so crazy about these stars. Kids were skipping lunch to come practice. Kids were staying here until like 7 o'clock at night practicing. Kids were coming in the morning to practice. And I'm telling you this for this reason. It's not always sending them on a big trip or spending exorbitant amount of money on things. Sometimes it's the simplest things. It's them seeing themselves as a success that's the driving force for what's next. What do you have in place for them to see who they are? Or in this case, I am. If you can put this prominently somewhere, it goes a long way in establishing what you want and, most importantly, who they can be. So that's the I am. Now, that helps me because I don't know about y'all, but I'm not perfect. And there are some days where I'm going to be honest, I am struggling. I probably barely did a lesson plan that week. And I can't remember, what did we do in class yesterday? What are we doing? I forgot, right? Kid threw up in the car, like, okay, what's happening? Okay, I just got a flat tire on the way to work. I'm frazzled. There's been times where I've been frazzled and I show up and the I am showed me who I am supposed to be. See, these things are not just for the students. These things are so beneficial in the sense that they become like this guiding light, this northern star, this compass that allows us to stay on course. So we covered a few things. We covered the classroom management when it comes to the with me, understanding what's in it for me, taking time to get those little Post-its. We covered the win by 10, which is the agenda, the routines, the expectations, also called the code of cooperations, right? And how that not just only benefits the students, but us as well. And we talked about the I am, which is our strategy. And I'm stopping on that for a second because I've come to learn that having a vision is so important. If you don't have a vision for what it is you want, it's hard for the kids to get with you because they are so visual. That's why social media is so engaging. It gives them something they can see and believe in. Seeing is believing. So what is it that you have in your class that they can see and that they can grab onto figuratively and believe in? Another thing about vision is not necessarily planning. Nothing I went over today is planning. That's another session for another day. What we're talking about is something greater than planning, is strategy. And I find most band directors, most educators do not have a distinguishable strategy for what their classroom is going to be. Oh, they plan, but it's pockets of planning. And there's oftentimes no connectivity. And it would be like you tuning in. I'm old school, so it was Must See Thursday on NBC, all right? You knew Cosby Show was coming on. You knew maybe Seinfeld was coming on, Frasier, right? The Thursday, it was expectation. There was called television programming. They programmed it. Man, if you wanted to cause a ruckus, change the programming. America would be livid. I'm going to put it a different way. Coca-Cola changed their formula. People was hot. They were mad because you want to give people something that they can come to expect and understand. When I travel, and I go different places, sometimes I go to a place that's not the healthiest, like a fast food place, because I know that there's going to be a consistency to what I do. When you teach, is there a consistency to the teaching? Is there a consistency to the experience? Is there a consistency to how you teach it? Now, this is the part I believe we've all been waiting for. We went over the classroom management, went over the curriculum management. Now I want to go over the content management. That is how you teach it. How you teach it. Okay? This is the part. I got a kid, they can't read. I got a kid, they can't play in tune. How you get them in tune, Mickey? All your kids sound great. What type of witchcraft are you working out there? Nope, it's not magic. It's music. It's a system of operation. So watch this. I call it on-purpose teaching. Write that down. On-purpose teaching. This is the part. You know, as you're writing that down, I tell my students all the time, I have a son who plays trumpet. And one of the things we've been talking about here recently, he's trying to play higher notes. And I always tell him, I'm like, hey, the key to playing higher notes is playing lower notes. I need you to go low so you can go high. And I begin to break down the concepts from an early age. I wouldn't even let him play high notes. I was like, just get sound. I need you to sound good. And Mr. Cook, his trumpet teacher always backed it up. He's like, no, we need to work on tone. That other stuff will come. And he worked on it. And I can hit him some high notes, but the good news is his high notes sound good because they have tone. You can't tune bad tone, right? And some of these things that we're trying to do, we're putting the cart in front of the horse. And I'm telling you this for this reason. Whenever we teach, it has to be for a purpose and on purpose. You can con a con, you can fool a fool, but you can't kid a kid. The kids can tell if there's no meat to this. And so many times we want to get busy into, well, how do I get them in tune? But the classroom management's out of control. Okay, there's no buy-in, right? So it's so important that we take steps. I'm gonna give you what you want. I know folks want to know how to get these kids sounding better, but I need you never to do these things at the expense of those very important things. It's got to be in tune to be in tone, guys. That's right. That's right. And now we're talking about getting our teaching in tune. How do we get our teaching in tune? I believe it's understanding who we're teaching. Listen, you can do it your way, okay? And I'm not saying your way doesn't work, but if you're on this call right now, it's probably because that there's something you feel could be improved. You feel like maybe there's a disconnect, or wow, these things used to work and they're just not hitting like they used to. That's what this is for. So I'm not saying that my way is the way, but I'm giving you a new way to consider, a new perspective, okay? I believe that there'll be somebody on this call that takes what I'm doing and will improve on it. All I ask is just remember me when you come into your kingdom, okay? If you find something that works better, come back and share it, because I'm gonna be honest with you, everything you've heard today, I stole from somebody. A lot of that classroom management stuff I stole from Harry Wong. So when he calls me up and he's like, hey, I love what you're doing, I'm like, dude, you ought to. I stole it from you and I just tweaked it for me. Well, that's what this whole thing is about. Generosity is our privilege. So I'm sharing what I'm doing, hopefully so that you'll find greater fulfillment in your teaching and you'll keep on going with it. And watch this, if it works, I encourage you to share it with somebody else. Tell folks to follow us, so we can be a blessing to others. So let's talk about it. If we teach today, we have to teach the language that they speak in. Everything they speak is 40 seconds or less, 40 characters or less. It's Instagrammable, it's Snapchatable, it's TikTokable. It's bite size. I would never teach the kids the way that I've been talking with y'all. You're adults. And honestly, there's some people on this line right now that's probably like, wow, he gave me a lot. This is a lot. I would never do this to a 10-year-old. I understand Rome wasn't built in a day. One of the things that I do that I found a lot of success with that I'm going to use as a model as a microcosm for what we're talking about is anytime I'm getting ready for MPA or spring concert, I find out the date that I'm on. I find out the date of the concert. I count how many actual days I have of teaching, not Saturday, not Sunday. And honestly, if they got some assembly, I don't count that day. And watch this. I don't even count. I think I cut off 3 days before the concert because I don't want to be rehearsing anything 3 days before. I want to be reviewing. We don't rehearse before the concert. We're doing processes. All the things we talked about for class, we're doing that for concert. I'm showing them how they come into the classroom, how they sit, how they set their stand up, how we walk all together single file into the auditorium. We're doing those things. Okay. How many seconds I'm going to take to talk between songs. When I turn around, what I expect them to do. Those are the things we're working on. So we don't look like we just got to the show. Okay. So that's why I stop it 3 days before, because it takes about 3 days to get them of all heart and mind, right? So I figure out what those days are. If it's 20 days and I have 100 measures in a song, now I know I can do what? Go check my math. I can do 5 measures a day. Did y'all catch that? I know I can do 5 measures a day. Now I don't have that stress that a lot of people have. They're like, oh, I hope I covered enough. Okay, did I get enough? I'm not, look, and that's not to say I only go 5 measures and I stop. It just means maybe we do 16 measures of that song that day, but I make sure I clean 5. I make sure I got 5 of those measures clean, or at least clean enough to where when we come back, we're not starting from ground zero. And then the next day I make a focus on the next 5, not at the expense of the other 11, right? But I just do that focus, and it's like Legos. I keep stacking it until finally, man, honestly, a lot of times I don't even need all 20 days because there's such refinement that then creates confidence that something else increases confidence. And then when there's more confidence, now there's more competence. And it's this endless cycle of confidence and competence that actually accelerates the learning process. So honestly, usually about a week before the concert, I've already hit that point of, okay, we're doing pretty good. So I'm sharing that with you for this reason. Whenever we are teaching those concepts, okay, I want you to think about making them bite-sized. Let me give an example what bite-sized looks like, okay? I've got this thing I do called level up teaching. We have different levels. First level is level 1, but I'm not going to unpack the whole level. That's another session for another day, okay? But I'll give you one easy example. If I'm teaching beginning band, because my beginning band is not, I don't have a clarinet class, okay? God bless Texas, love it. I don't have an alto sax class. I don't have an oboe section. I have, okay, you can take the class. Okay, come on in. You have a pulse? Okay, come on in. We got everybody in there, right? Now I have taken measures to separate the percussionist. I think there's a lot of value in that. It has been for me, especially at that beginner level, especially elementary. Like in 4th grade, I don't even do the percussion thing. I want everybody on a wind instrument, and that's another story for another day. By the time we get to 6th grade, then we can kind of start bringing them together. But whenever I'm teaching, watch this. If the kids have to think, they won't. If they have to think too much, they won't. We're giving them too much verbiage. Whatever you think you're saying too much. It's all love. Hey, look, and I'm talking to me too. Come on, you've been on this call with me for an hour and a half. You know I can talk. So I have to really govern myself. If they have to think, they won't. Or if they do, they're not going to think the way you want them to think. They're going to overthink it. So what I do is I come up with concepts that are bite-sized. Why? Because a king-size candy bar should be fun-size. You ever think about that? You would think the king size would be, if I'm a kid, that's fun. But they don't call it fun size. They call the bite size fun size. Why? Because again, it's a business. Which one makes more money? The bite size. So they call it fun and they make it small because they know you're not going to eat just one. Oh, but I'm on a diet, but I don't feel bad about this one. It's so small. Oh, it's just a little candy. It's just a little chocolate. You've eaten the whole bag. And then you say, I'm going to go get another bag. It was only one bag. But if you ate that king size bar, you would feel guilty about it because it visually looks big. It's showing you exactly how much you're eating. So you never want the kids to see how much they're eating. You always want to chop it up so they don't feel like it's work, so they feel like it's fun, even though every day it won't be. So what I do is this. Whenever we're teaching them embouchure, Everybody has a different embouchure. We all know that. So I teach it to them wrong so they get it right. And I tell them this. I say, hey, guys, look. Because the worst thing you can do is tell a kid something and then they get smart later. Wait a minute, Mr. Smith, you told us last year and now it's not. So I tell them right out the gate, watch this, guys. Hey, it's martial law, okay? We're in a state of emergency. We got to get from point A to point Z like in 3 seconds. I'm going to teach it to you wrong so you get it right. How many of y'all want to get good real fast? Oh, yeah, I want to get good real fast. Okay, well, good. Well, in order for us to get good real fast, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to go back and change it probably, in a few weeks. But for right now, don't y'all want to play? Yeah. Okay, well, let me do this. I already got buy-in. Nobody has ever said, no, Mr. Smith, I'd rather you take the long route and teach us it properly, and it takes a few months for us to get. No, they just want to play. So I'm going to teach it to you wrong so you get it right. What does that mean, Mr. Smith? That means everybody in class, except for flutes and tubas, have one embouchure. Corners in, flat chin. Corners in, flat chin. That's everybody's embouchure. Clarinet, that's their embouchure. Corners in, flat chin. Saxophone, that's their embouchure. Sorry, brass players. I just happen to have those out. Trumpet, now they was waiting too. Trumpet, that's their embouchure. Corners in, flat chin. Trombone, that's his embouchure. But flutes and tubas, they're the only ones. And of course, I always have to recognize, if I have them in the room, percussionists, your face is your face. I'm sorry. Now we make a little joke, right? So that's that, because the percussion, what did our face look like? So we always got to address the percussionist first, right? But for everybody else, corners in, flat chin, flutes and tuba, pout and poo. And I tell those flutes, you know how to do that. You know how it is. It's your birthday, it's Christmas. And they say they're not going to get that for you. And you go, oh, but Dad. Oh, but Mom. Oh, but Grandma. I said, y'all know how to do that, don't you? And I smile a little bit. Yeah, we know how to do it. Oh, yeah. I see it too. I see it. I got some poo face people in here. I see that. Y'all know how to pout and poo. I need somebody to pout and poo. Ooh, the sadder you look, the happier you sound. I love it. Give me the saddest face you can make. And then I'll say mean things like, you wipe that smile off your face. And I smile after. I always kind of wink at them. And they know that's the code. Ooh, wipe that smile off your face. Because the smile is going to, be the enemy of the tone, right? So pout and poo. And then the tubas, the mouthpiece is so big, we want them to pout and poo a little bit. Now, obviously, guys, as they go on, we're refining it. Remember, this is beginning band. We just want them to get a sense of accomplishment coming out the gate. And the tactic, the tool that I just gave you actually works for a considerable amount of time, right? Until now they have enough dexterity in what they're doing and enough solidity in what they're doing. Now we can go back and say, okay, now do this. Okay, now add this. But to get them started, corners in, flat chin, everybody, except flutes and tubas, pout and poo, and percussion. Woo, just keep the face you got, right? So that's what we do with that. So now you can see the bite size. Now what happens is when you give it to them that way, they can repeat it. Anything you teach, think of the game telephone. If you know what you've given them will sound different by the 10th person, it's too much. What you give them needs to be so centered it could fit on a t-shirt. Like think about it. Pout and poo, that's a t-shirt. Corners in, flat chin, that's a t-shirt. If you're not t-shirt teaching, you're not winning. Because this group, that attention span, their attention span is their age in minutes, and I think it decreased even after COVID, okay? So if you got the beginning band, you got 10 minutes, okay? And that don't mean you got 10 minutes to explain it. You probably got 10 minutes to work with them before you can move on to the next thing. So you can't spend 10 minutes breaking down that concept like I did with you. You have to have it t-shirt teaching, okay? So another example of that would be posture. We said it before, you can't tune bad tone. And so many times when I go into schools, the tone is suffering because we got 17 different variations of posture, which creates 42 different iterations of tone, which creates 162 iterations of tuning. And it's like, well, no wonder we're all hitting the right notes, but we all look different. So watch this, t-shirt teaching. If it looks good, it sounds good. That's easy. Now you've given them agency. Now you're giving them power to assess themselves and maybe even assess others if we got the camaraderie like we need to. And now they can say it doesn't look good. I've had situations where I'm like, man, what's happening with why we don't sound good? Oh, we don't look good, Mr. Smith. What doesn't look good? And now see what I'm doing? I'm giving them an opportunity to be. It's not me just barking and saying, okay, this is wrong, fix this, do this, do this. I want to give them some space because now that's going to increase the chance they take it home and practice. If they feel like they actually know what they're doing, they'll take it home and practice. Okay? That's why people play Fortnite back in the day, because they felt like they knew what they were doing. All right? Nobody's going to play a game that they know they can't win. And most of the time, the reason they don't practice is because they feel like it's a game they can't win at. So what I've had to do is, and y'all may not want to hear this, but it's the truth, the kids aren't going to practice, y'all. Okay? So what we have to do now is we have to embed practice into the class. And everything that I just did is a master class on practice. It's not just me. It's not sit and get and me just tell you what to do, but I'm empowering them by equipping them and educating and encouraging them to take ownership, to make boss moves. And the more boss moves they make, something magical happens. They participate more in class. When they participate more, then I start giving them opportunities to be celebrated, like that I am chart. Once they start getting the stars, then I put up star charts. I hope you got this sequence. This is the sequence. I give them the star charts, and I take everything out of the method book that I want them to play, and I put them in those star charts. And I don't even award them anything. I don't even promise them anything. That's the craziest thing. Well, Smith, why do they get the stars? You give them a trip? I give them nothing. I have nothing to give them. I'm on a fixed income. It's broke. Okay. I ain't got nothing to give them. I just say, come get a star. And for whatever reason, they come get stars. And I want to play off song 42. Okay. Look, while you're playing it, can you do me a favor? Corners in, flat chin. Oh, okay. See what I did there? Every moment is a teachable moment. But if we don't have these tools in a form that we can use them and can pull them out at any given point with consistency, then they don't take root. If it's something you only say one day, then it's just this thing that happened in August. But corners in, flat chin, that's a way of life. That's the band way. And I find a way to embed it into everything. Okay? Another thing we do too is whenever we play, for example, when they hold the trumpet, I wish I had one right now. When they hold the trumpet, I tell them use hamburger hands. Hamburger hands. I said, anybody that's a GOAT uses hamburger hands. I said, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, he back there, he using the hamburger hands. Steph Curry, drop back, hamburger hands. Flute, hamburger hands. Clarinet, hamburger hands. Saxophone, hamburger hands. Trumpet, hamburger hands. Trombone, uh-oh. And we all get a good laugh about that, okay? Then I tell them, forget about it. And we just do that. That's our little thing, right? Right? I tell them, just hold it like you're holding a pencil. That's their pencil. Water gun. Pencil and water gun. Pew, 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 pew. And I have a little pencil and a water gun. I hand it to them. Why? Because I want it to be tactile. I want them to feel it. So I just give them a little water gun. I give them a pencil. Oh, you can play a trombone. That's the most absurd thing. You know how much those trombone players love that? Mom, I learned how to play a trombone. What'd you do? I held a water gun and a pencil. They'll never forget that mess. I got kids to this day. They're like, Mr. Smith, I got my water gun in my pen. Okay, that's crazy. You remember that. He was like 10, right? My man 20 right now. He still remembers the water gun and the pencil. So give them those things that they can use. And then whenever we play, now I have something I can direct them on. Oh, I always tell them too that the pinky hook, because I got fourth grade, they're little. So I'm like, we don't put our pinky in there. I said that's called the pinky saddle. I said, if you went and rode a horse, would you put the saddle under the horse, or would you put the saddle? You put on the horse. Okay, good. I'm just making sure. Okay. Now, when you put that saddle there, do you get under the saddle or do you sit on top of it? Silly, Mr. Smith. You sit on top of the saddle. You said it. I didn't. Can you sit your pinky on top of the saddle? Now I don't have to say, hey, get that pinky out of the saddle. I'm really mad, but I'm smiling. Saddle. You can't be mean to these kids, right? Their parents get offended. Saddle. So every time, giving those powerful words that they can use, I can put that on a t-shirt. I can saddle and put a picture of a pinky on top of a saddle. Nobody would get that except our cult, the band, because our ways are not their ways. Our thoughts are not their thoughts, right? We speak a different language. And kids enjoy that when they got something that's uniquely theirs. So now I got hamburger hands and a saddle. Are you understanding how my kids don't forget how to play their stuff? Because it's so absurd. What other class did they go to that day that told them a hamburger and a saddle went together? That don't even happen at lunch. And there's some crazy things happening at lunch, but ain't nobody got a hamburger and a saddle. Maybe. There may be one state. I'm not going to name the state. All right, so here we go. So we got the hamburger, we got the saddle, right? So boom, we're right there. Those little bite-sized opportunities help give the kids something they can really wrap their minds around. Now I do have a session, because I'm going to be honest, I probably got a day's worth of these little things, these little bite-sized moments. But for the sake of time, I want to make sure that I give space real quick. I kind of gave you an idea about embouchure. I kind of gave you an idea about horn carriage or hand position, rather. I'm going to outline this thing about posture. And while I'm doing this, could you put in the chat if there's something specific as far as a bite-sized teaching tool that you'd like to know something about? I can't promise I'll get everybody, but I'll try to do the best I can. So while you're thinking about that and putting that in there, if there's something that crosses your mind, the whole thing about posture, what I do is this. I could give this litany explanation about the posture thing, but again, telephone, I need something they're going to remember, right? So I tell them, put a string that runs through your spine. We've heard that before. And I tell them to pull it up. Do you understand how excited fourth graders get about that? And eighth graders they're not too shabby on it either. They do like that. Visual, right? Then the next thing I do is I tell them, make sure we have soft shoulders. Why do I say soft shoulders instead of relax the shoulders? Because to an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or even maybe a 16-year-old, relaxing the shoulder may not mean what I think it means. So I say soft shoulders to help them create a visual image of what that should be. No tension. Tension is the enemy. I tell them then to open up the diaphragm, chest out, open up. But most kids won't understand what that means either at an early age. So I show them where their shoulder blades at, and I tell them to try to meet your shoulder blades in the back. Make your shoulder blades meet in the back. That opens up the chest. And then I tell them, make sure, put your feet flat on the floor so you can support the weight of what you're trying to carry. Now, as great as an explanation as I think that was, it's not so concise that a kid could repeat it without fumbling it. If we played the game telephone, it would be different by the time it got to the back of the room. So I condense it down even more to, first you gotta sit tall, let the shoulders fall, make the shoulders meet in the back, and then put your feet down flat. First, you gotta sit tall, let your shoulders fall, make them meet in the back, and put your feet down flat. You gotta sit tall, let your shoulders fall, make them meet in the back, and put your feet down flat. You gotta sit tall, let your shoulders fall, make them meet in the back, and put your feet down flat. You gotta sit tall, let your shoulders fall, make them meet in the back, and put your feet down flat. Pop quiz. First, you gotta sit what? Tall, thank you. Let your shoulders fall, make them meet in the back, and put your feet down flat. And here's the crazy thing. I didn't tell anybody to listen and learn. I didn't tell anybody to retain anything, but it's so compact that you can't forget it if you want it to. Now what I do fast forward is I challenge them to say it in 5 seconds or less and to do it. Sit tall, shoulders fall, meet back, feet flat. They all do it together. Then I say, hey, who can say it in 2 seconds as fast as you can? Old school, like Micro Machine Man. Sit tall, shoulders fall, meet back, flat. Okay. How many of y'all can think it in half a second? I can think faster than I can talk. See if you can think it and do it. Good. Now watch this, guys. I'm not going to say that. It would take too long in class, and it would really reduce who you guys are for me to say all that out loud. So I'm going to put a code name on it, tag name. I'm going to tag it, hashtag it. I'm going to tag it. Okay, put a name tag on it. SET means to do those things. Matter of fact, that word's so powerful, I'm not even going to say it out loud, because if I say it, I need you to do it. So I'm going to honor that word by spelling it. But the moment I say it, I need you to do it. Matter of fact, wherever you are right now, guys, even on the Zoom, let's try it real quick. Whenever I say SET, when I say that word, I need you to do your mental rubric. Sit tall, shoulders fall, meet the back, feet flat. Let's try it. Ready and set. Boom. Relax. And always put a boundary on it, because we don't want that to become a punishment either. I quickly say, relax. I say, hey, it's not a punishment thing. It just makes y'all guys look tough. It makes you, man, if I'm working with sixth grade, I say, boy, y'all look eighth grade. If I'm working with fourth grade, I say, ooh, that makes y'all look seventh grade. If you're with eighth grade, I'm like, ooh, y'all look high school. Straight up. It makes you look a grade older. How many of y'all want to look a grade older? Oh, they always do. They always do, especially little ones. We always do. So I do that every day. Now that word has significance. It's not just some idle thing we do. It's an opportunity to do. I get to, not I have to. That's how we present it. That's how you have to present it with the with me. You got to do that with the with me. The moment you start telling them what they're going to do and it's going to be this, it doesn't work. You can do little pockets of that, but you can't have a steady diet of it. So that's how we do the posture and the set. So whenever we, let's see, I'm going to see if I can do a few of these things. Tips on tonguing. Okay, well, look. Big thing I do is from day one, I give grace because every kid's not going to get it. Always, it's almost like those races when they're staggered. Have you ever seen those staggered races? Matter of fact, I don't even know if that makes sense what I'm talking about. If you see the difference between this and this. This is how most of us teach. We keep everybody in the same place, blah, 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 blah. But what happens is everybody doesn't run the same speed. But when you can stagger them, and when you get to know your kids well enough to give that kid that may be a little bit farther ahead, a little bit of lead, and just tell them, hey, go do your thing, but don't go too far, okay? Because I got to work with my guy who's in last place. It goes a long way. So when we talk about the teaching of the tongue, first thing I do is I make sure I name tag everything. Whenever we are tonguing, everything is how to. How it goes from how do to how to. Okay, that's another story for another day. We'll unpack that later. But how to, everything I say is how to, how to, how to. Okay, if I'm a flute, I say how to because it starts how do, because the question is how do you breathe? The answer is how do. How do you breathe? Do. Do. So now I've even identified inhalation as how and exhalation as do. So when a kid messes up, I don't just say, breathe better. I just say, I need a bigger how. I need a better do. Oh, okay, I can do that, Mr. Smith. I know you can. How do. And then after a while, how do turns into how to. So when we do this, what I like to do on saxophone is I do a lot of mouthpiece work. And of course, when you get saxophones, they're going to do this. There's no definition. So one thing I like to do is I like to draw a picture of a box, a rectangle, and I identify that the first part of it is the attack, the length of the box is the sustain, and the end of the box is the release. Sometimes I'll say stop, but I like the word release. Okay, so start, the attack is to. You understand why it's so important to be definitive about how you breathe? Now I said to, and they know that that's not the inhalation, that's the exhalation. That's the start of the note. Now, simply saying to will immediately get some kids to start tonguing. But you know and I know, it ain't gonna get all of them doing it, okay? So Smith, how do you get the rest of them to tongue? I play little games. I tell them, don't play anything. Just put your tongue on your reed. Do it again, like a little, and I have a picture of a frog. Okay, when you play, can you touch your tongue on the reed? I don't give them too many instructions. You and I both know they're going to do this totally wrong. They're going to mess it up. Somebody's going to cut their tongue on the reed. Somebody's going to stick their tongue in the mouthpiece. It's going to be mayhem, but it's okay. Nobody dies. Okay, he's got his tongue on the reed. He won't take it off. Okay, look, do me a favor. Can you pretend this reed is 10,000 degrees? And you have to touch it. If you touch it, I'm going to give you a Jolly Rancher. Who would touch the reed for a Jolly Rancher if it was 10,000? I'd touch it, Mr. Smith. There's always one saxophone player. He'd do it. So I tell him, touch it, but touch it really quick. Somebody gets it. Vast majority of them still can't get it, okay? But remember, it's like that staggered race. You're parceling out opportunities for kids to get it on ways they can understand. And you got to have a number of tricks in your bag so they can all get it. Then the next thing I do is this. I say, hey, do me a favor. Scratch the tip of your tongue. Matter of fact, I want to invite y'all to do it. Scratch the tip of your tongue. Okay. Can you feel the tip? Now, don't look at me like that. It's your finger. My goodness. My goodness. Come on. That's what I tell the kids, right? They kind of laugh. So scratch. I say, can you feel that one taste bud? Yeah, I can feel it. Okay. When you touch the reed, I need you to touch it with one taste bud. We're going to blow air and one taste bud. And what'll happen is they probably won't tongue the first note because I get it. I'm a pro. They're going to go, and it's going to scare them. I said, did you feel that taste bud? Yeah, only use one. Some of y'all use 10 taste buds, just one. Good. Now do me a favor. Some of y'all are weird. Some of y'all are using all these airs. I said, what? I said, in band, you can't use airs. I need you to use one air. Can you hold a whole note for me? How much air did y'all use? I used one air. How many of y'all used one air? I used one air too, one stream of air. I even get a little Post-it note. I told y'all I like Post-it notes. And I let them visually see. That's what one air looks like. Here's what 4 airs looks like. I don't want 4 airs. I want one air. Matter of fact, can you give me 1 air and 4 tongues? 1 air and 4 twos? 2, 2, 2, 2. Who can blow 1 stream of air without stopping and bump it with the tongue 4 times? It's like a water hose that I turn on and I gave them a visual. There was one year my old school, my original band hall, we had a water hose outside. I took the kids outside with the field trip and I showed them. And they're like, oh, okay, who can do that? And I get them to go, who ran out of air at the end? I did. Good. That means you were using good band air. Look what I did. I let them know that it's okay that they didn't run out of air. So now I take that back. Who can do that on the horn? Sometime I'll get a flute and I'll put the Post-it note in front of them. See if they can do it. Because I got to give them something they can see because the flute is so discouraging. I got to give them some hope. And then I'll go to a saxophone. I did it, my tongue tickles. I know you did it right. If it tickles, it's good. And then we'll have these discussions, get feedback from them. But Rome's not built in a day. If you do it one time, that's not going to fix it. But that gives you an idea. Is that a powerful model? Does that make sense? Kind of, and again, I want to be really, really clear. This is not one of those movies, cut the frame, 5 seconds later, they're playing Careless Whisper. Ugh. No, it's not that, okay? It's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute for them to get that. So look, again, we're going to have, I hope that this session has been good. I want to do more of these. If I can be honest with y'all, before we, I got one more thing I want to share with y'all that I think is probably the most important thing. But this is the challenge I face. I'm just being totally transparent with y'all. I didn't do this by myself. I have a wonderful gentleman that helps me with this. A couple people on the team that help pull these events together because I want to be excellent when I do this. I don't want the Zoom to fall apart or crash. I need good visuals. I need good lighting. Different things that we oftentimes take for granted. I hope this Zoom was at least a pleasant one, as somebody said. Thank you. But it takes teamwork to make that happen. And as a result, I want to make sure I'm positioning myself where I can honor people's time. So with that being said, and the resources and the time that I spent, I do have a cost to it, that I ask. And it's nothing that's ridiculous or absorbent, but it allows me to honor those people that are helping me at the same time, and get the word out. So I promise you, I'm not getting rich off of this. I live in West Palm Beach. Everything's expensive out here. So I promise you, I'm not getting rich off of a Zoom registration, but it goes a long way with this. So what I'm asking is this. I'm asking that when I do these again in the future, that I can get some partners with me that can help me spread the word, that if this was beneficial to you, share it, because the moment I put a price tag on something, people immediately go, well, is it worth it? Well, I hope that this was worth it. And also I need your feedback. I want to honor your investment, your commitment. If you ever feel that the value that I'm giving was not congruent with what you gave, let me know so that I can improve. Because again, I'm not a snake oil salesman. I'm not here trying to just swindle anybody, but I have to make sure that I'm honoring the time away from family and with those individuals that have partnered with me to make these things possible. So kind of give me on a scale of 1 to 10. I know we got one more thing I want to just unpack real briefly. On a scale of 1 to 10, what was this for you? What was this for you? Do you feel you got some value out of this? Do you feel that you got some tools that you can use? I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Got some 10s, 11. Be honest. Be honest. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, the Zoom platform is a tricky one, especially as a presenter, because there is always that bit of disconnect. And this helps me to understand if what we gave today was of value. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this is not one of those, but wait, there's more. It's not an infomercial, but I got to be honest with you. If you appreciated this, I got a few folks on the line, I'm not going to embarrass them, but there's a few people on the line that know I got a lot more that I can unpack, but out of respect and time, I felt that this was just enough to where we kind of absorb. But I would love to get back up. Oh my goodness, I forgot about Hawaii. I saw that earlier. My goodness, thank you, Hawaii. 4 a.m. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm saying thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to know that this helps. I definitely would want to do some more of these. I'd consider even doing one of these a month. I would. But at the same time too, sometimes I'll be honest, I get discouraged because you do these things and, you know, nobody shows up. So I'm going to lean on individuals to help me spread the message and the good news. So the good news is a lot of these concepts that I kind of blew through, I also have some adjacent courses and different things that really talk about the classroom management and the perspective, because what I'm finding, and it's all love today, is that most band directors know the music thing, but we're losing the game when it comes to engagement and really seeing the heart of our students. And we begin to lose heart. So I have some things that honestly have no thing to do with music, but I think they're essential for doing this thing called music. And I'm making them available to you. So once we get off this call today, check your inboxes. We're going to send, I'm sending you probably more stuff than you, maybe even you want. But my hope is that out of the abundance of stuff that I send you, there'll be something that resonates with you. Hopefully you'll communicate back to me what you found that was, you know, impressive to you and beneficial to you. And let me know that, because just like I'm not a saxophone player, I'm a saxophone learner. I'm also a teacher learner. I'm a presenter learner. And your feedback goes a long way in helping me understand how to add the best value. Another thing I want to know from you guys, and we'll get you guys to respond back. You'll see how you can stay in contact with us in the email that we send, is to let me know what the future courses need to look like, the future Zoom sessions like this, what we can talk about. And then, of course, I want to give everybody here that opportunity to have that one-on-one session. So we'll be in touch with you soon about what that looks like and structure that in such a way. I'm getting ready to hit the road and do some professional developments, but once I get back in town, we'll have that time and we'll unpack, and it'll give me a chance to really get to know you guys. Many of you, I see the faces, and it's funny, these worlds are so small. I'm seeing folks that I've recognized and I've had interaction opportunity to get to know. So it'll be cool to be able to just unpack on a more personal level. The last thing I want to share with you today is so essential. We live in a world where everybody's following everybody. Everybody knows everything about all these influencers and everybody else. But I'll never forget, I had won the Grammy. It wasn't announced yet. It was maybe a few weeks before, and I was sworn to secrecy. Only like 3 people knew. One of them was my wife. My kids didn't even know. And I had to go do this honor band, actually in my home state. And I did the honor band. And at a point where I should have been so excited, I was actually, I guess the word is, accosted by this retired teacher who was very upset at me, because in my thank yous at the end of the honor band, I had mentioned just my appreciation for the educators in that district and the work that they had done preparing the students. And I just reminded the parents that, you know, as teachers, we're more than teachers, we're influencers, you know. And I think I might have even mentioned something about social media prior to that folks can follow me online, but I didn't even connect it in that sentence. I just said we're influencers. And man, that woman, she gave me the business. And she told me that I'm what's wrong with the country now. And too many people are, you know, these influencers are corrupting our children. And I get where she was coming from. I won't even say, let's be honest, not all the influencers are good. I get that. But it was so weird because there was a line of parents and families who wanted to come and say thank you. And there's always one. So I'm telling you that story for two reasons. Don't get too discouraged by the negatives, because you could do everything right. And there's always going to be someone or something that pops in and says, you're not enough or whatever. But that did hurt me a little bit, because it was like, I wanted to make a difference. But, with that being said, we do have opportunities to influence. And that's what I hope and want this to be. But I need you to understand that you are an influencer more than you're a teacher. They sign up for class, not because of what we do, but because of who we are. And I take that back. Some of them may just sign up for a particular horn or the thought or the dream of doing it, or because their friend did it. But they're not going to stick with band long term if there's not a personal connection or belief in who you are as an individual. And that doesn't mean that you have to have all the answers. It just means that you have to answer the call each day with a level of vision, intentionality, and consistency. And that comes with something I call the XYZ. Now, I wasn't going to share this with you, but I'm going to share it with you in brevity. This is actually a session in and of itself, but I'm going to share a little bit of it. It may be kind of hard to see, but the thing about the XYZ is it's a powerful formula that reminds me each day of what it is I'm doing. The X is the intersection between what you're gifted at and what you're passionate about. I need us now more than ever to not separate our gift from the classroom. I'm a gifted storyteller, meaning I have an ability to engage students. I'm a gifted educator, meaning I really love breaking down concepts and showing people and building bridges between what they can't do and what they can do. But I'm passionate about people's passions. I'm passionate about people being motivated and being elevated. So that becomes my X, Y, and Z. I engage, I educate, and I elevate. My why is the WHY. It's why we get up every day. It's the who or the what. Your why has to be connected to something or someone you can see. Why are you getting up every day? Why are you going into that classroom? My why is every learner. Notice I didn't say the future music makers. Notice I didn't say the future music educators. Notice I didn't say the all-staters. And if that's your thing, that's okay. I'm not here to judge it. I'm here for all of them, even the ones I don't like. Because the cool thing is I can love somebody and not like them. And the truth of the matter is there are some students, honestly, I don't like how they do, and I don't like how they think, but I love them. That's why I say I teach every learner. I take every learner to excellence. And I do it, watch this, through music. So for me, music is not the focus. It's not the center. It's the vehicle. It's the vehicle for what, Mickey? For the destination, destiny, Z, the end game. What's the end game? So that they know that they're loved, valued, and wanted. That's it. If I can show them that, I feel like I've given them everything. Now you can understand how we may not play the song the right way that day, but it's still a win. A kid can feel like they were a part of something and that they're progressing towards something. But if our end game is the end all be all called music, then we actually entrap ourselves in a situation where we can't be the end all be all for them. So I want to encourage you to kind of think about and consider what your XYZ is. And now that's the thing that keeps me fueled. So when I go into that classroom, I don't get discouraged or disheartened to the point that I become demoralized. Because there's a lot of noise out there. But if you can keep your sound, then you win. I've enjoyed our time together. I definitely want to offer you some next steps. Again, please go check out the email inbox that I'm going to send you. And do me a favor. Look, I love y'all. I'm giving that gift to y'all. I'm a big Seinfeld fan. There was an episode where he re-gifted. Do me a favor. Don't re-gift. Don't re-gift. Okay. Why am I saying that? I'm giving y'all this because you made an investment. But for anybody that you know that you think would benefit from any of the resources that I'm freely sharing with you, you can go to my website at mickysmithjr.com. And on the website, there's something called the Keep On Going store. Okay, just click on that tab and you can find any of those courses on the Keep On Going store. And the cool thing is nothing there is, there's no $500, $100 courses on there. Okay. So I found this. I found more times than not, if people got skin in the game, they take more. You know this school-owned instruments versus personally owned instrument band directors. Sometimes if we give too freely, it's not appreciated. So what I ask is, if you see something that's of value, do me a favor, encourage folks to make that investment into their own professional and personal development by being on our next Zoom or going to the Keep On Going store and tying themselves over with some of that content until we can meet again. And of course, again, check that email in your inbox at the end. Check your spam box if by chance you don't see it in the next 10 minutes. And stay connected and stay in tune with me for our next session. Would y'all be cool with another session next month if we did one? Okay. All right. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Thank you. Well, thank you again, guys, so much. I can't wait to stay connected with you guys as we continue to make this next year the best year and make it what I like to call a sound 180, a sound 180 days of classroom instruction and harmony. So in the meantime, guys, keep on going. Make your classroom sound, make your teaching epic, and I promise you, legacy is going to be significant. Best is yet to come. Until next time, thank you. God bless.